Welcome to the Tennet Indigenous Wisdom Research Center. I am your host, author Tennet Setegn. In this broadcast series, we explore the profound mysteries within our research. Ethiopian esoteric philosophy and alchemy. Our journey into channeling hidden wisdom begins now.
What if human consciousness didn't actually evolve inside a physical body?
Which is such a wild concept to start with.
Right. I mean, what if instead of being this byproduct of biological evolution, the physical universe itself was just the byproduct of a question?
Yeah, it completely inverts our whole standard model of reality.
It really does. Imagine a scenario where before matter even existed, early entities simply asked, who are we?
Wow.
And the sheer density of that imaginative thought literally materialized into the physical world we inhabit today.
We are so accustomed to thinking of the physical world as the foundation,
Yeah.
like the hard, undeniable floor of existence.
Right, exactly. The starting point.
Yeah, upon which consciousness eventually just sort of sprouted. But the framework we're examining today treats physical space and even time itself as downstream effects of philosophical inquiry.
Which is mind-blowing. And that inversion is exactly why we're pulling apart these specific texts today for our deep dive.
Absolutely.
We're exploring some fascinating excerpts from the Tennet Indigenous Wisdom Research Center.
Yeah, specifically looking at a framework known as the Admesh philosophical insights.
Right. And our primary focus for this deep dive is on the heaven category.
Which is, it maps out 10 foundational entities of creation.
Exactly. And we're going to isolate 3 of those entities today.
Yeah.
Because these 3 serve as the structural bridge between the raw cosmic realm and literally the dirt under our feet.
Yeah, and to really appreciate the Admesh texts, we have to approach them differently, not as, abstract spiritual poetry.
Wait, it's not just metaphors.
Exactly. It's a rigid, almost mathematical architecture. This system isn't dealing in vague ideas about nature.
It's super precise.
Very. It outlines specific functioning mechanisms for how the universe manages energy transfer, how it categorizes biological life, and even how it structures human psychology.
Which we will definitely get into, because that part is wild.
Oh, yeah. It reads more like a grand unified theory of cosmic engineering than anything else.
So let's start at the source of that engineering, the very top of the celestial architecture.
Right, the first entity.
Yes. The texts introduce the first of our 3 entities as the Bekri heaven, which translates to the firstborns.
And the Bekri heaven are frequently referred to as the hands of wisdom.
The hands of wisdom.
Yeah, and the word hands is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
How so?
Well, because it implies action,
Right.
manipulation, and most importantly, mediation.
Oh, I see. Like they're doing the actual work of bridging things.
Exactly. They are the conduits responsible for taking the incomprehensible power of the hidden spiritual realm and safely transferring it into the physical world.
Because otherwise it would be too much.
Right. Without them, the raw energy of creation would theoretically just overwhelm the material plane.
I kept picturing them as like cosmic electrical transformers.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, because when a massive power plant generates electricity, the voltage is infinitely too high for residential use, right?
Right, it would blow everything out.
Exactly. If you ran that raw line directly into a house, plugging in a lamp would just burn the entire structure to the ground.
Yeah, completely fry it.
So you rely on those cylindrical transformers on the telephone poles to step down the high voltage energy into a usable current.
That's exactly it.
The Bekri heaven seemed to be stepping down this intense, divine spiritual energy so the earthly realm can actually process it without being destroyed.
That mechanical analogy works perfectly, especially with the way the texts describe their spatial arrangement.
Because it's very meticulously organized, isn't it?
Incredibly. There are 7 distinct tribes of the Bekri heaven.
7. Okay.
And 3 of these tribes are stationed at the absolute center of creation, immediately surrounding the divine throne.
Right. And the text notes that these 3 central figures actually parallel some archetypes we see in other traditions.
Yes, they are often associated with the archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael in other texts.
Guarding the immediate presence.
Exactly.
But the environment surrounding that throne is where the imagery gets just incredibly specific.
Oh, the elemental rings.
Yes. The central divine presence is enclosed by 4 concentric rings of pure elements.
Right.
The innermost ring is fire, followed by water, then wind, and finally the outermost ring is earth, or soil.
And the sequencing of those elements is highly deliberate.
It's not just random.
No, not at all. You move from the most volatile plasma-like state, which is fire, closest to the pure energy of the divine center, outward through the fluid states of water and wind until you reach the densest, most stable state.
Earth.
The architecture is literally moving from pure energy to solid matter.
Which brings up the functional problem for me.
Yeah.
How does the energy from those concentric rings actually reach us down here?
That's where the remaining 4 tribes come in.
Right, because we have 3 Becher-Heaven in the center, which leaves 4.
Exactly. And the text places these 4 outer tribes at the 4 extreme edges of the cosmos.
Okay, so they're on the outskirts.
Yes, and they are tasked with distributing those elements to our physical plane. They act as the distributors.
And they do this on a schedule, right?
A very strict mathematical rotation. These 4 outer Becher-Heaven take turns feeding the Earth its elemental properties.
Okay.
Each one governs a cycle of exactly 91 days.
91 days.
Yeah. The sequence follows the elemental rings. So 91 days of fire, followed by 91 days of water, then 91 days of wind, and culminating in 91 days of earth.
They're essentially managing the seasonal flow of the physical world.
Exactly.
But wait, that brings up a massive friction point for me when I was reading this.
The math.
Yes, the math.
Yeah.
When you do the basic math on that, 91 days multiplied by 4 elements, you get exactly 364 days.
Right.
But the actual solar year for us is roughly 365.25 days.
Yeah, it is.
So if an ancient system operates on a strict 364-day calendar, it is going to experience seasonal drift almost immediately.
Very quickly, yeah.
Within a single human lifetime, their cycle of fire would be happening in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
Did they just ignore astronomical reality for the sake of clean math?
It seems like that at first glance, right. But that discrepancy is actually the masterstroke of the entire Admesh philosophy.
Oh, really? How?
Because the 365th day is deliberately excluded from the elemental rotation.
Excluded.
Yes, it is fundamentally different in kind. The text identifies this transition period as the Senbeta.
Senbeta, which translates to a Sabbath.
Right.
Or a great period of rest.
Exactly. It is not governed by the 4 outer Becher-Heaven. It sits completely outside the flow of elemental time.
So it functions as a structural pivot point.
Yes.
But how does that solve the problem of time just repeating itself? Because our modern calendar is incredibly flat. It's like a grid where January just loops back around into another January.
Right, locking us into a 2-dimensional circle.
Exactly.
Well, the Admesh system vehemently rejects the idea of time as a flat, repeating circle.
Okay, so what is it then?
By introducing the Senbeta as a rest outside the elemental sequence, time becomes a spiral.
A spiral.
Yes, a really helpful way to visualize this is the structure of a spring.
Like a metal coil.
Yeah. If you trace the wire of a spring 360 degrees, you appear to come back to the exact same horizontal position you started in.
Right.
However, the physical structure of the spring has elevated you. You are actually on a higher vertical plane.
Oh, wow. So the Senbeta provides the vertical lift.
Exactly.
That completely reorients the purpose of a year for you.
It does.
You aren't just surviving a loop of seasons to end up back where you started. The observance of that rest period, the actual suspension of the elemental feed, actively winds the spring.
Yes, it elevates the physical and spiritual plane before the next cycle of fire even begins.
That is beautiful.
And to compound the elegance of that structure, the mathematics of the 91-day cycle are inherently tied to a 7-day week.
Oh, let's hear the math on this.
Well, 91 is perfectly divisible by 7.
Oh, true.
It equates to exactly 13 weeks. And the text states these elemental cycles always initiate on a Sunday.
Always on a Sunday.
Always.
Meaning, the 91st day, the final day of any elemental season, always lands cleanly on a Saturday.
Exactly.
So the transition between the elements always concludes on a built-in day of rest.
The symmetry is just incredible. It ensures that the very fabric of time forces a pause before a new element is introduced.
It's like the cosmos is breathing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
But we have to look at what happens when this carefully managed step-down energy actually makes contact with the physical world.
Right, when it hits the ground.
Yeah, which introduces the second major entity in the heaven category.
The Metsahafe. Yes, the sacred flora.
The texts make a really sharp distinction here between the unmanifested and the manifested, don't they?
They do. There is one supreme unmanifested tree that remains in the hidden realm.
Serving as the divine throne itself.
Exactly, the ultimate potential of flora.
But the trees and plants that do physically manifest here on Earth, they are heavily regulated.
Extremely regulated. Earth, in this context, is not viewed as a single, open sandbox for human beings to just dominate. Yeah, the Admesh philosophy enforces strict boundaries on earthly dominion through a system of 4 distinct realms.
It fundamentally challenges the whole anthropocentric view that the entire globe is just human property.
The mapping of these realms is so fascinating to me. Let's break them down.
Sure.
First, you have Kazan,
Right.
which is the realm designated for humans.
Yeah.
It is centrally located and deeply associated with the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Then to the west is Zadig, the realm strictly designated for wild animals.
Yes.
And to the south is Partina, the realm for domestic animals.
The separation of wild and domestic animals into distinct geographic and energetic zones is highly sophisticated.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because they're both animals, right?
Right. But it acknowledges that human interaction alters the frequency or the very nature of an animal.
Ah, right.
So a domestic animal requires a completely different environmental structure than a creature existing purely in the wild.
That is so perceptive for an ancient system. But the most surprising zone for me was Temlik.
To the realm of birds? Yes. Situated to the north. The text claims it consists of 7 distinct worlds just to accommodate avian life.
7 worlds.
Right. Why would birds require a complex, 7-tiered dimensional structure when humans only get one central zone?
Well, if we look at the mechanics of the elements we discussed earlier, it makes sense.
Oh, how so?
Birds are the only creatures naturally traversing multiple elemental states simultaneously.
Oh, wait. Humans and animals are bound to the earth element.
Exactly. We walk on the ground. But birds operate across earth, wind, and water.
Oh, wow.
The complexity of their realm likely reflects their unique interaction with the elemental outputs of the Becher heaven.
That makes perfect sense. Their environment requires more complex parameters because they interact with more elements.
Exactly.
Okay, so across all 4 of these earthly realms, the Etz heaven, the sacred trees and plants, they take root.
They do.
But the philosophy categorizes their purpose into 4 distinct levels of interaction. And this reveals a stunning level of biological and psychological understanding.
Truly. So the first level is pretty readily recognizable. It's physical medicine.
Like herbs and stuff.
Yeah. These are specific flora whose roots, bark, and leaves are utilized to repair bodily damage, treat wounds, cure physical ailments.
It's an advanced but pretty standard botanical pharmacology.
Right. But the second level is where the texts demand some serious attention.
Yes. The Admesh wisdom explicitly dedicates a category of shrubs and flora entirely to psychological medicine.
Which is incredible. It isolates specific plants used exclusively to treat fear, anxiety, and psychological trauma.
Treating the mind as a separate structural entity from the physical body.
The isolation of mental health as a unique botanical discipline is profound, you know.
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah, millennia before modern science conceptualized neurotransmitters or developed targeted anti-anxiety pharmaceuticals.
Right.
This framework recognized that psychological distress was not simply a symptom of physical illness. A broken spirit required a fundamentally different chemical and energetic intervention than a broken bone.
To see psychological trauma treated with that level of clinical specificity in an ancient text is remarkable.
It really is.
And it leads directly into the third level of the Etz heaven, which shifts from consumption to connection.
Yes, the spiritual trees.
Right. These aren't harvested or ingested.
Yeah.
The text describes them functioning essentially as living shrines.
They act as communication nodes, basically.
Okay.
Where the membrane between the physical, earthly realms and the hidden heavenly realms becomes permeable. They allow humans to interface with other spirits.
I envision them as, like, organic tuning forks.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. If the unmanifested tree at the divine throne is vibrating at a certain frequency, these specific earthly trees are structurally capable of catching and resonating with that frequency.
Giving humans a localized access point.
Exactly.
A resonant frequency is an excellent way to conceptualize it, which brings us to the fourth and final level.
The hidden flora.
Yes. This is the highly exalted hidden flora. It represents the absolute pinnacle of spiritual plant life.
Serving as the earthly mirror to that unmanifested throne we talked about.
Right, and it remains largely mysterious in the texts, representing the limits of human comprehension within the botanical world.
Okay, so let's recap where we are. We have the Becher heaven stepping down the cosmic elements, feeding them through a spiraling, mathematically precise calendar,
Right.
which then manifests as 4 levels of sacred flora across 4 strictly zoned earthly realms. The architecture is totally in place.
With stages set.
But who is actually walking through these realms? This introduces the final entity we are exploring today.
The Timrete heaven.
Right, the Timrete heaven, which translates to the combined nations.
And the text quantifies this population as being made up of exactly 91 tribes of creation.
Okay, that number 91 immediately jumps out again.
It does, right. Linking perfectly back to the 91-day elemental cycles of the Becker heaven.
Yes, it suggests there is one distinct archetype or one tribe for every single day of the elemental rotation.
The cosmic time cycle and the biological populations are mathematically mirroring each other.
The integration is absolute.
It is. However, the most critical aspect of the Timrete heaven is not their numerical symmetry, but the mechanics of their origin.
This is the part that blew my mind in the hook.
Yeah. Before populating Kazan or Tamlik, these entities existed in the hidden, unmanifested realm. They didn't begin with biology.
Right. They began with an inquiry.
Yes. The entities separated themselves from the raw soup of creation by asking 2 fundamental questions.
Who are we? And where did we come from?
Exactly. The physical universe was essentially sparked by an existential crisis.
That is just wow.
The Admesh philosophy posits that the act of questioning is the primary driver of existence, and the text notes that this initial inquiry splintered into 3 distinct modes of thought among the early entities.
Okay, let's go through the 3 modes. First, there was relative thought.
Right. The process of defining oneself by understanding what one is not.
Like, I am me because I am not you.
Exactly. Setting boundaries.
Second, there was discovery thought.
Which is the outward-facing urge, the compulsion to seek new information, to map the unknown, and gather data about the surrounding environment.
Okay, and finally, there was symbolic thought.
The capacity to assign meaning to the abstract, to use metaphor, and to understand that one thing can represent another entirely.
So these 3 modes of thinking were basically the raw materials of consciousness.
They were. And the text explains that the groups who synthesized these 3 modes utilized what is termed imaginative thought.
Imaginative thought. And this is the mechanical crux of the whole origin story.
Yes, it is.
As they engaged in this deeply complex imaginative thought, their consciousness literally gained density.
It became so heavy, so structurally sound, that it condensed into physical matter.
Their imagination manifested them into the 4 physical directions.
Yes. As humans, birds, wild animals, and domestic animals.
It completely redefines the relationship between mind and matter.
In our contemporary understanding, a physical brain must evolve first to generate the illusion of consciousness.
Right.
But the Admesh texts argue that consciousness is the fundamental reality.
And the physical body is merely the dense, visible clothing that imaginative thought ultimately wore to navigate the elements.
That's beautifully said.
But the text also introduces a vital caveat here.
Yeah.
Not every entity condensed into physical form.
No, they didn't.
It specifically names figures like Timal and Sirad, who utilized a different frequency of thought and remained in the hidden realm as spirits.
Right. They exist parallel to us, interacting with the system, but never actually putting on the dense clothing of the earthly realms.
So the entire system operates on layers of density and frequency.
From top to bottom.
From the pure, blinding fire of the divine center, stepped down by the hands of wisdom.
Translated into 91-day cycles of time.
Manifested into the varied physical structures of sacred trees.
And ultimately experienced by a consciousness that imagined itself into flesh.
When you step back and view the complete Admesh architecture we've mapped out today, the sheer scale of the integration is staggering.
It really is.
It demands that you abandon the idea of a random, chaotic universe entirely.
You are observing a system where cosmic energy, the progression of time, botanical medicine, and human consciousness are all just interconnected gears in the exact same massive engine.
The texts invite a profound reassessment of our daily reality.
They do. We really must evaluate how we are participating in this architecture. Are we treating time as a flat, exhausting circle of repetition? Are we ignoring the structural necessity of our own sin beta?
Or are we utilizing those designed pauses to wind the spring of our own consciousness, ensuring that we enter the next season on a higher plane of existence?
It fundamentally changes how you view a simple walk through the woods, or even just the passing of a week.
It really does. And the lingering question we have to grapple with, you as the listener, is this. If this framework possessed the acute clinical insight to isolate botanical treatments for psychological trauma, thousands of years before the advent of modern psychiatry.
What else is there?
Exactly. What other unmanifested truths within the Admesh system are currently operating right over our heads, simply waiting for our modern scientific paradigms to catch up?